Mark, hectic Christmas schedule coming up. The squad as thin as it has been. How do you approach this and the rest of the games over the festive time?
With great care and consideration. We have to make sure that we can get as many players onto the pitch over the 4 games in 9 or 10 days, whatever it is, that as many of those as we can, whether that means we have to wrap them up in cotton wool between the games and make sure they're ready and available for selection for the game.
And in terms of the work you do in between, how key is that? I mean, is it just about recovery as much as anything?
It's more tactical and recovery based than anything else. They don't need the training load really. It's just like I say, recovering from the games. The boys that have not played need a little bit of conditioning work and a top up so that they're ready if they come into the team.
Speaking to Lee Collins earlier this week, he said it's a strange one because for most of the season it doesn't feel like you're a team who are bottom of the table. Does it sort of feel like that to you as well?
I think when you have the really good run that we did, which what that has done has kept us in contact with the rest of the teams. You know, before that we could have been well out of touch, and we're not. We're now in a position where we're on level points and only goal difference keeping us, you know, on the bottom. So if we hadn't had that good run, we would have been in worse trouble. So that good run has enabled us to stay in contact. We've had a horrendous run of injuries and suspensions, which happens. We should have got a result at Grimsby with a real patched up team and 9 men in the second half. And everybody who saw the Luton game last week would tell you we should have got something there and deserved to get something. But when you're struggling, you're depleted, that sometimes doesn't happen. Now we have to hope and pray, slowly but surely we get the players that are injured that are instrumental to us, we have to get them back as quick as possible.
And I suppose it's the players coming back from suspension. I think you got Dale Bennett back this week, haven't you? So how much of a difference does he make?
He does, but obviously I think Dale realises now that he can't be as emotional as he is sometimes to lead to silly suspensions, because that hurt us. You know, we can't do without, in this current situation, we can't do without Dale for 3 games, and we're asking to Keanu Marsh-Brown to play in an unaccustomed position because Dale's not fit. Dale's not available. So Dale obviously recognises now he's got to be a little bit more disciplined.
Bizarrely, I saw a stat that said you've won more points than anyone else in the league from losing positions. I mean, that says something about Forest Green, doesn't it? Maybe you don't start games well enough, but also the spirit and the quality to get back into them.
Yeah, and I fancied us last week to get something. You know, 1-0 down, they're down to 10 men. Just missed a great chance from Doidge. And then the second goal, you know, calamity really kills it. But that happens sometimes, and we have to recover from that. The one thing I know is that we'll keep fighting to the end, and if you do that, you always have a chance of getting something.
If it was away to Carlisle, we'd be talking about the journey you'd have to make up there. How can you make the journey they've got to make here an advantage?
Well, I think we're precisely that. We have to try and start the game well and ask questions of them. They played. I went to watch the game the other night at Carlisle. I drove up and watched them. And I thought they were really, really good against the League One team. But they've still played 90 minutes on a Tuesday night. I was praying it'd go to extra time, but it didn't. But we have to start the game really well and ask some questions of them and see if we can make that journey a problem. Because if you let them have the impetus and they start well, they won't be worried about the journey.
Have you got anyone likely to come back from injury? Any of the sort of the 50-50s shaking off bumps and bruises?
Not really. We're still struggling and with numbers, but we're going to give it a right go again tomorrow. And we hope that over the Christmas period we get Osborne back, who's been the main loss for us.
And obviously you've talked about changes in January, but I suppose it's important that as a team they don't wait until January, you know, that they actually sort of, I suppose, make an impression now and gain some points for the club now.
Well, I spoke to the players yesterday and said, look, it's just evolution that we have to bring players in January and just make sure that you're not one that's going to be replaced. I can't make that decision for them. I can't do that for them. They have to do that themselves by their performances on the pitch. And if they perform well on the pitch, then I don't replace them. Simple as that. And that's not me being negative, or that's just football, and it's not personal. It's just the way it is. If people are not performing, then we have to replace them.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
Mark, you said you watched Carlisle in the week. What do you expect from the Keith Curls team?
They've got some good experience in the team. They try and play football. I think he's done a really good job there. You know, like they got in the playoffs last year. They were really unlucky. They lost the last kick of the game away at Exeter in the second leg of the semi-final. But they got some good players, you know, and good experienced players. Clint Hill, you know, people like that. Tom Parks, Gary Liddell. All over the pitch. Mike Jones in midfield. Really good footballers, and they try and play. So it's going to be a difficult game for us, but it's one that we want to win, and we're desperate to win, and we're going to do everything we can.
Yeah, you mentioned Clint Hill there. There'll be an interesting battle with Christian Deutsch.
Yeah, we tried to sign, or we were interested in Clint, but obviously the location was an issue with obviously Carlisle being a lot closer to Liverpool than we are. So, but he's remarkable for his age at 39. What a pro to be playing at that level and at that consistency at 39. So Doigi will ask questions of him for certain, and I'm sure Clint will know he's in for a game.
Yeah, and of course coming back with the squad for Carlisle is one of the Wembley heroes. Mark Ellis did a terrific job for you.
Fantastic. He really came to the fore in the playoffs, and he dragged Manny through those playoffs, and him, you know, as well as Ethan coming back into it, really got us over, helped get us over the line.
Yeah. Christmas period, as a player, did you enjoy the Christmas period?
I did, yeah. I think the Christmas games always seem to have a bit more on them, a bit more edge, a bit more atmosphere. I think people want to come out and watch football, Boxing Day, New Year's Day. Yeah, I still look forward to it.
Yeah, finally, just looking forward to January, round the corner now. You've mentioned 4 or 5 players. Do you see January as is it going to be a busy month, or do you bide your time? You've got a month.
It's ongoing. It changes every day, you know, and we have to be active. There's make no bones about that. We have to be active and make sure. But when you're bottom of the league, the recruitment becomes harder because players are not too sure about moving to a club that are sat at the bottom of the league. So we have to be clever with our recruitment, and we have to, you know, we might have to spend a little bit to make sure we get the right players in.
Yeah, and are you confident you can keep your big hitters? There's been a few rumours around.
Yeah, I mean, I've not had any phone calls personally myself about any of our players, but I'm pretty certain that we won't be shooting ourselves in the foot and selling anybody that is instrumental in us making sure we stay in the league.
Smashing. Cheers, Mark. Thanks.